set up your own Hadoop environment in the Amazon cloud, stream social media to it. So this is, again, a familiar picture for those who joined us through part 1 and part 2. So the title of our exercise is Big Data, Hadoop, and Social Media in Action, how to stream this all in under a day. We're talking about basically hours, not days. So part 1, we provide an overview, and then we set up our cloud instance. We'll get to part 3. So part 3 is basically installing Cloudera distribution of Hadoop version 4 to our Amazon cloud instance. So this actually is a pretty easy task. Anyone who's ever installed anything on Linux understands that it's open source on Linux. They make life very easy. There's no forms to fill out, nothing like that. Nope. So we're going to SSH into our environment. We showed you how to do that in the second part of our series. So I'm just going to follow a quick little script. I'm going to make a directory called temp CDH download. I'm going to go to that directory. I'm going to get the following URL. Try. Let's see. Yep. Okay. Alright. So now we have to make sure we have execute privileges. So change mod user. File. Alright, so you can tell here there were no execute privileges, so that's obviously necessary. So this is ready to go. So at this point, all you have to do is execute the script. It's going to walk you through it. Does a base install, and basically what it does is it configures the manager, and once you fire up the manager for the first time, you'll actually have the ability to install the services, and they'll start for the first time. So this is actually just, as you can see here in the corner, it says Cloudera Manager. Okay, so this actually installs the manager, and the manager, on an ongoing basis, you can bring services up and down, manage the name node, that sort of thing. But for the first time installing, once we log into the manager, it's going to recognize as the first time you log in, and you'll have the ability to select which services you want to start. Okay. So this is running. While it runs, why don't I do this? There's a few things that are missing from the install. I can kind of do things in parallel. It's all right here. So make sure I have the right So I'm going to do a few yum install. So yum install basically gets some of the packages and the services that will allow you to start the Hadoop instance when you bounce your server. By default, I found that these were not configured to start if you were to reboot the server. So we can correct that following these steps here. Do yum install Hadoop hdfs -name node. Oops. I think we actually have to wait for, I'm getting ahead of myself, so I thought I could do this in parallel, but we'll just wait for this to install. Let's just see if that's the case here. Okay, so this tells us to point our browser to this IP address. Log in, the username, so it's default by it's admin. Admin. Hostname may be incorrect, blah, blah, blah. So basically you have to make sure that you've disabled firewalls, and that's what we did in part 2 of our exercise. So everything was successful. So now I'm going to bring up the browser. Rather than bring up that IP address, we're actually going to go to our machine. So if actually I can just grab it from the console. So here's my instance. It's running on this host. I'll say 7180. Alrighty. Forgot the HTTP, of course. Admin. Okay. Log in. This is the first time we are installing. So we're just going to install the free edition. Of course, if you have, I believe the free edition supports 50 nodes, so we're going to be under that for sure. If you're deploying this in a large production cluster, of course you're going to want to license it. If you want the support, you're going to want to license it, so it keeps our good friends at Cloudera in business. So we're just going to install the free edition. Okay. So it's going to say which ones do we want. Go here. So this is asking for which hosts we want this cluster to install on. Okay. So I want to list the IP address here. So you can see it's 10.68.21.86. 10.68.21.86. That should suffice. If you had more clusters, if you had more nodes in your cluster, you'd want to just add as many as you could. So let's go find it. Found it. I'm going to install. Okay. CDH4, of course, latest version. Then it's going to ask us, root is fine, all hosts except same password, because we're going in as root, everything should be fine. Yep. Failed to authenticate. Let me try again. I forgot. I know what I forgot. So we go back. PEM file. So I'm going to do this warts and all, just by the way, so I don't want to trick anyone, nothing up my sleeve here. Okay. So we got EC2. It's a PEM file, the key file that we used from before, for everyone who remembers. Okay. So you can tell I haven't referenced any Cloudera technical manual at this point. I did it last week. Basically you can see the steps here, they're pretty straightforward. Go through it once and you can pretty much just, as long as you have, I like to keep sort of my notes off to the side, say here's what I ran, here's sort of an exception I came across, here's how you get around it. That's usually par for the course anyway. Once you do an iteration and you're successful, and you kept your notes like that, you don't have to reference the manual again until it comes to maybe some more advanced configuration. So again, I'm going to let this run in real time. Again, I want the duration of the videos that we're capturing here to represent exactly how long it takes to get the environment up and running. What I'll try to do is I'll go back here and see if I can there's a lock on it. I'll wait. I don't want to close anything. But you could see that's I kind of figured I was getting ahead of myself before. It needed the base packages there, I guess, to get the services downloaded. Okay. So by the way, as this runs, I'd never actually. I'm familiar with Unix and Linux environments. For those familiar with Informatica, having to install a number of their products on the Linux platform. So I know my way around the operating system, but not from an open source perspective. So I can see how, from the ground up, Linux is obviously open source. Apache's open source. Hadoop is an Apache project, so that's open source. I can see how everything is sort of tied from the operating system on up to integrate with these software packages, and I have a better appreciation for the underlying patterns. So everything kind of, we'll see soon that startup services have to be in the etc and a D directory. That's how I knew that by this installation didn't include the services that I want to start when the server's rebooted. And there's other things like you see the etc, the service name, and the conf directories. In the subsequent exercises, we'll see how those are very important. Also the /var log and then the service name. It's obviously where the log files go, and so for troubleshooting, that is a good place to look first and foremost. There's one for Flume, there's one for HDFS, so it's always good to be aware of where those live in the operating system. By the way, this is your first view into the Cloudera Manager. As I explained before in part 1 of our series, this is what you get with if you go with a distribution of Hadoop as opposed to downloading the packages yourself. You get this manager, and certainly helps with the installation, but you could have also downloaded the packages yourself. It will help. Actually, there's a step when we configure Hive to use MySQL. By default, I believe Hive uses an embedded Derby database by default, and we'd like it's preferable to use MySQL to capture basically the metadata for all of our Hive tables. We want MySQL. That allows us, of course, we'll be using some of the Hive ODBC drivers in a later part of our series. So hopefully this will pick up. So one thing, of course, because everything's in the cloud, it helps to be very secure. So for those watching at home or wherever you might be on the run, this domain, by the time you watch it, would have been decommissioned. So you may know the password to my Hadoop environment, because it's an admin, and I could change it. But it's not going to matter. I'm going to flatten this by the time you get it. Not saying that you would, of course. Be interested in either learning from others or trying it myself, but see how Hortonworks installs and compare what their admin console looks like, that sort of thing. It's always good to sort of understand multiple providers that are out there and see what the pros and cons are. But at the end of the day, under the covers, it's all running Hadoop. Sorry about that, I had to press pause for a second. So a couple minutes went by, actually a little under a minute. Doing this from the comfort of my own house, and sometimes there's background noise, if you know what I mean. Getting there. Almost there. this is actually getting close to the end of our of this portion of the tutorial. So everything installed correctly, or successfully, I should say. So now it's checking for correctness. Good. Everything looks good. Good, good, good. Continue. Choose the version that we want. CDH4. Combination of services to install. See, some of these I can see here that I want custom because yeah, I want HDFS. I want MapReduce. So yarn is MapReduce 2. So it's either MapReduce 1 or 2. I choose 1. Zookeeper, I want HBase, Uzi, and Heal. Okay. That's what I want. It's going to continue. Everything looks good. And again, at the end of this portion of the series, you basically have Hadoop running. It's not really doing anything; it's just running. So the focus begins to we begin to narrow in, and I should say zero in on one particular service. How to configure it, how to get it up and running, and go to the next one. And the whole idea is that coming out of this, we're going to be streaming social media to this environment. Okay, just like we showed at the beginning in part 1, the when I tweeted and it went directly to Hadoop file system. That's sort of the big payoff. I'm going to go ahead and start to are running. Started, everything looks good. You can go in and actually, if you needed to, you could configure Uzi. You could start, restart. Right there, perfect. Uzi is right there. Awesome. So, that's it. We have successfully installed Cloudera in our environment. We are now running Cloudera in our Amazon cloud. The next one we're going to be registering a Twitter app. That takes no time at all, but it's necessary and it's worth going through. So these will be the configuration of the services so that we can now stream social media. Oh, yes, and yes, I just picked up on the fact I said greater than a business day. We all know that that's not true. So yes, the joy of doing things in real time. So till the next partner series, take care, and I hope you're enjoying how things are progressing.